a serial fraudster. That's called fraud, when you pretend you want to do the one thing and you'll do the thing they're hiring you for, but all along you have secret plans to do something very, very different that's above your pay grade. And she finally bumped into someone who was weak enough and not famous enough to stop her, right? This Justin Baldoni, most people had never even heard of him. He'd been in like one series. He certainly wasn't at Ryan Reynolds level fame, never mind Blake Lively. And she bullied him into giving her the movie where she did her own cut. They released the cut of the movie. He didn't even get to see it. He was the director of the film, the producer of the film, the guy who got the rights to the film, the one who's supposed to be in control. He didn't even get to see it. He was in the basement at his own movie premiere. And then she had the nerve, because she had 2 minutes of bad publicity when the film hit, to come out and try to blame it all on him. None of it was just due to the fact that she seems like a rather shitty person.
Here's what they're saying. The latest lawsuit from Justin Baldoni is another chapter in the abuser playbook. This is an age-old story. A woman speaks up with concrete evidence of SH and retaliation, and the abuser attempts to turn the tables on the victim. This is what experts call DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender.
Yeah.
She's so confident. Exactly. I think that's so telling how confident she is to just say, I have no qualms lying to the director, taking control of their movie, pulling the rug from them.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone-deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
Closely edited documents prior to even filing the complaint. We are releasing all of the evidence which will show a pattern of bullying and threats to take over the movie.
In this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone.
Trying to signal Justin Baldoni's team, like, look, we have nothing to do with this. We're not friends with her anymore. We don't even like her. We don't even know her. We can't believe she said this. They were running articles. She feels used. She feels abused. They claimed to TMZ in one article that she only met Justin once and it was briefly. And essentially she was startled because the meeting was supposed to be over at Blake's apartment.
To you, right? You run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman, and he has badass women like me defending him. Mm-hmm. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
Well, today, her team, and respect to them for the speed at which her marketing team moves, dropped an entire article in the press announcing that her and Blake are taking a break. They're no longer friends because, shocking, Taylor Swift feels used. She always feels used. And she wants nothing to do with the Justin Baldoni situation. Is she being used, or are people starting to jump into lifeboats because Ryan and Blake's Titanic, the ship that not even God could sink, is sinking? It's going down because God is God.
Blake Lively meltdown at the Oscars? Not exactly the phrase anyone expected to trend after Hollywood's biggest night. The tension apparently emerged from developments in Blake Lively's ongoing legal tussle with Justin Baldoni. The real shocker is how these revelations found their way onto the Oscars stage, leaving onlookers speechless and fueling a wave of speculation across social media. If even half of these rumors hold water, it suggests that her well-honed image might be on the brink of collapse. The Oscars is always the biggest spectacle in Hollywood, featuring sparkling gowns, teary-eyed acceptance speeches, and the occasional comedic mishap. Typically, the biggest headlines revolve around which underdog film nabbed the top awards, or which talented actor delivered an emotional tribute. This year, though, much of that got shoved aside, replaced by frantic whispers that Blake Lively reportedly lost her composure in a very public way. According to those present, this emotional display wasn't just a mild outburst. It was so startling that it briefly stole the limelight from the A-listers and winners taking the stage. Some witnesses claim Lively arrived looking poised. Obviously, intending to make her usual impression on the red carpet. But after the initial photo ops, the real trouble started swirling in the background. The meltdown wasn't captured in full by cameras, but enough bits and pieces leaked to piece together a narrative. Something Baldoni did or said blindsided Lively, prompting her to react. The hush that fell over parts of the backstage area was, by some accounts, more riveting than anything happening out front. People murmured about newly leaked details in the Baldoni lawsuit, a bombshell or two that apparently set Lively off the deep end. The legal entanglement between her and Baldoni has been a simmering storyline for a while, yet few expected it to rear its head during the Oscars. The ceremony typically operates under a veneer of polished niceties, with major conflicts left at the door. The fact that this tension erupted right on the biggest night in showbiz underscores just how dire the situation might be. If the fiasco overshadowed glamorous arrivals and awards, you can imagine how intense it must have been. After the show ended, the scuttlebutt about Lively's meltdown drowned out even the usual next-day analysis of who was snubbed and who wore the best dress. The presence of so many high-profile witnesses also raises the stakes. This wasn't a meltdown behind closed doors at a private event. We're talking about the Oscars, a place crawling with influential journalists, publicists, and paparazzi, all hungry for a whiff of scandal. In the social media era, a meltdown of this magnitude is guaranteed to be dissected from every angle. Many wonder if this meltdown signals more trouble to come. Could it be the tip of the iceberg, reflecting deeper wrongdoing in the lawsuit? Or was it an isolated moment of stress on a night that demands perfection from everyone? As we dive deeper, you'll see that multiple versions of the story are circulating, each painted by different vantage points: sympathetic colleagues, harsh critics, or opportunistic onlookers eager to spin the tale to their advantage. Sources close to the situation say the meltdown was set in motion by fresh allegations that Justin Baldoni brought forth at precisely the worst moment for Lively. The rumor is that Baldoni found crucial inconsistencies in her earlier statements, something that might poke holes in her claims or portray her as less than honest. This wouldn't be the first time someone claimed to have discovered questionable behavior in the Lively camp, but what made these revelations particularly jarring was their timing. Releasing explosive information on the cusp of the Oscars appears almost cunning, as if Baldoni knew Lively would have no place to hide. Insiders speculate that the documents or statements in question included communications that put Lively in a difficult spot, maybe half-truths about contractual agreements, or hush-hush negotiations that cast her in an unflattering light. If true, Baldoni's angle seems clear: cause maximum damage by unleashing these revelations when Lively is most exposed under 1,000 camera flashes. Observers note that if Baldoni's goal was to draw attention to her alleged double-dealing, it worked brilliantly. He didn't even have to stand on stage. Just whisper the right details in the right ears and watch the fallout happen in a blaze of social media commentary. One rumored tidbit claims that certain text messages might show Lively's team discussing ways to undermine Baldoni's credibility. Another rumor references supposed phone calls in which Lively or her associates tried to coerce or manipulate business partners into taking her side. While none of this is confirmed, the talk swirling around is relentless. People love a good scandal, and the idea of a revered actress possibly stooping to questionable tactics has become hot gossip. The meltdown at the Oscars, so they say, might have been Lively's immediate response to realizing these secrets weren't so secret anymore. And while some might defend Lively, stating that she's under extraordinary pressure and might not even be aware of what certain team members do on her behalf, that argument may hold little water if direct proof surfaces that she was in the know. For now, the meltdown's impetus seems directly tied to Baldoni's revelations, with insiders describing it as a meltdown triggered by sudden knowledge she's been cornered. The phrase itself is chilling, suggesting that Lively recognized she could no longer spin the narrative in her favor. Intriguingly, as soon as news of these allegations broke, watchers noticed that Lively's usually robust social media presence went silent. No witty comebacks, no cheerful updates about her personal projects, just radio silence. Coupled with the meltdown rumors, this silence fuels the notion that she's on the defensive, trying to figure out how to mitigate the damage. If Baldoni truly holds more damaging information in reserve, this meltdown might only be the first wave of a larger storm. The Oscar meltdown sets a precedent. If she can't keep her composure in front of Hollywood's elite, it calls into question how she'll handle future bombs that might drop. Ordinarily, the Oscars represent the pinnacle of celebrity glamour. Everyone's polished to the nines, and it's a golden marketing opportunity for any star looking to cement an image or promote upcoming work. Lively, known for turning heads, at red carpet events initially seemed no different. She arrived in style, chatted with a few interviewers, and turned in the kind of effortless grace fans associate with her. Whispers mention that Lively was seen pacing backstage, a phone clenched in her hand, her expression far from calm. Another story suggests she engaged in a tense conversation with a colleague or friend, possibly about Baldoni's newly surfaced claims. Some stagehands claim they overheard references to lies, trapped, and he knows. If that's true, it points to an undercurrent of panic. The meltdown, described by a few brave souls as uncharacteristically raw, took place off-camera but not out of sight. Enough people witnessed some version of it to corroborate that Lively was indeed visibly shaken, maybe even near tears. The meltdown moment overshadowed typical Oscar fare. Attendees forgot about awarding achievements in cinematic artistry for a second, as news spread that Lively was in crisis. People whipped out phones, tried to glean a snippet of audio, or snap a discreet photo. Security, of course, is quite tight at the Oscars, so it's not like a fiasco at a random after-party, but the contained nature of the meltdown only added to the mystique. The lack of public footage triggered speculation. Is it so bad that if a video existed, it'd blow the entire coverage wide open? Social media quickly latched onto secondhand accounts. Within hours, Must Lively Meltdown, or something akin to that, trended on various platforms, overshadowing some of the more wholesome Oscar highlights. A few fans tried to downplay the event, labeling it as a mere emotional moment or stress reaction to the intense environment. But those who claim direct knowledge say it was a meltdown that outdid any typical awards night tension, prompting a swirl of theories about what exactly Baldoni might have revealed. The fact that she was so rattled hints that these alleged details pose a real threat. Someone as practiced as Lively in deflecting negative press typically wouldn't unravel so dramatically unless cornered by something significant. Another telling point is how certain A-listers gave her a wide berth as the evening continued. Typically, Lively is a social butterfly at such gatherings, flitting from conversation to conversation. But some watchers claim that after her meltdown, she stayed isolated, only interacting with a few loyal acquaintances. Did they volunteer, moral support, or were they also part of a crisis management crew trying to keep the meltdown hush-hush? That remains unclear. Either way, the unusual behavior was glaring to those who followed her red carpet escapades for years. The meltdown effectively overshadowed the entire night, setting the tone for post-event coverage. It's impossible to assess the meltdown without recalling the broader context, Lively's legal conflict with Justin Baldoni. For months, some say even longer, these two have been locked in a dispute rumored to revolve around multiple issues: production deals, alleged contract breaches, or personal spats that turned professional. The details are muddy by design, with both sides either refusing to talk or spinning partial truths in their favor. Yet the gist is that each new leak from the case adds fresh friction, smearing both reputations. For a while, Lively seemed to have the upper hand, leveraging her status to shape public opinion. Then, Baldoni started fighting back, hinting that he possesses evidence that could recast Lively's entire story as a house of cards. In past coverage, we've seen glimpses of rumored manipulations, Lively's team allegedly controlling narratives in the press, Baldoni pointing fingers at unfair tactics behind closed doors. Both sides have fans who claim their chosen star is the real victim. The meltdown at the Oscars might just be the most public sign yet that the tension has reached an intolerable level for Lively. If she truly believed that controlling the story was possible, the meltdown suggests that illusions of control might be slipping away. Complicating matters is the question of how much of this stems from actual wrongdoing versus simple personality clashes. Entertainment lawsuits often blow trivial arguments into monstrous shape, thanks to big egos and even bigger stakes. But the rumor that Baldoni uncovered something truly incriminating about Lively hints that this is more than a typical dispute. Observers point out that if Lively was as confident in her innocence as she portrayed, no meltdown would be needed, even if Baldoni did reveal new angles. Her alleged meltdown underscores the possibility that the revelations might confirm she's been twisting facts or omitting vital context in a way that the public would find damning. And indeed, maximum attention it has garnered. People who'd never heard of the Baldoni-Lively lawsuit before are now scouring old articles, trying to figure out what exactly ignited such drama. Meanwhile, those who followed it from day one see the meltdown as the manifestation of tension that's been building behind the scenes. If Lively thought she could keep a calm veneer until the lawsuit concluded, the meltdown was the moment it all cracked open. Whether this meltdown intensifies the public's interest or forces the two parties to settle quickly is anyone's guess. At the heart of the meltdown is the implication that Justin Baldoni orchestrated a well-timed strike by exposing crucial details right before Lively's Oscars appearance. Some might call that strategy cunning, albeit harsh, while others wonder if he even intended for the information to leak specifically on that night. The official stance from Baldoni's side remains hazy. He's not out there boasting about overshadowing Lively's evening, but then again, he doesn't have to. If the meltdown alone cements the damage, his job might be done, those in Baldoni's. Orbit whisper that he's tired of being maligned, overshadowed, or misrepresented in the dispute. If revealing some truths about Lively's approach to the lawsuit helps him gain leverage, so be it. Meanwhile, neutral parties question whether Baldoni is crossing a line, using public humiliation as a legal tactic. However, in show business, lines are often blurred when reputations and large sums of money are on the table. If the meltdown is a sign that Lively sees the walls closing in, Baldoni could spin it as proof that the weight of evidence is on his side. Interestingly, some fans speculate about a reconciliation angle, imagining that maybe Baldoni never intended to sabotage Lively at the Oscars specifically. Could it be a misinterpretation or overreaction by Lively? That narrative suggests that if her meltdown was triggered by minor revelations, perhaps she's more rattled by the lawsuit than she's letting on. Another angle suggests that Baldoni's team originally planned to release these details at a later date, but something forced them to expedite the timing, inadvertently colliding with the Oscars. Either scenario plays into the notion that we may never get a fully transparent timeline from either camp. Regardless of whether Baldoni planned it, the meltdown gave him an unintentional advantage in the court of public opinion. People are now focusing on Lively's meltdown more than on anything else from the ceremony. If the meltdown was indeed a reaction to legitimate claims from Baldoni, that might bolster his credibility. Some are even praising him quietly for picking the perfect moment to highlight Lively's vulnerability, although praising such an approach can come off as heartless. In Hollywood's labyrinth of alliances, though, heartlessness is hardly new. The meltdown at the Oscars feels like a tipping point in an already tense drama. For Lively, the night that should have been about celebrating film excellence turned into a swirl of whispers about her legal entanglements and potential personal missteps. For Baldoni, this fiasco might be the turning tide if it convinces more people to question Lively's narrative. For the rest of Hollywood, it's a cautionary tale about how unresolved legal battles can intrude on even the most star-studded gatherings. But let's face it, if this meltdown taught us anything, it's that the next development in the Baldoni-Lively saga could be even more dramatic. A meltdown at the Oscars is big, but a meltdown on the stand if the lawsuit heads to court? That might be bigger. People love seeing a veneer crack, especially when it's on a star they believe to be unflappable. For Lively's brand built on grace and control, a meltdown of this magnitude suggests her fortress might be crumbling from within. If Baldoni's revelations are as damaging as rumored, we may see further cracks, each one sending more shockwaves through her public image. As the story continues to unfold, there's always more to discover. Thanks for tapping in now. Like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell